Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order at this time. And I'm going to ask that, Gary, would you open us in prayer tonight?
Our good and gracious God, we come before thy throne of grace this evening now. We thank you for the blessings today. We thank you as we look out at nature and see the blossoms on the trees and the flowers coming through the ground. We're thankful for the opportunity to plant seed and look forward to the harvest of the fall. Pray, Lord, to be with our township, O Lord, and continue to be with us. Learning, give us wisdom and knowledge and make decisions that not only honor you, but also do what's good for the township. We pray for our employees, our first responders, our Ottawa County Sheriff, those that care for us. Our road commission people, Lord, in the summers are starting up a time of fixing our roads and fixing our roads, and we give them safety. They give us, each of us, caution as we drive through these work zones. Give our military, O Lord, and give them all. Give us the freedom that we get to enjoy. Bless this time now, Lord. Continue to give us all understanding here. Pray that you may keep us.
Amen. Beautiful, Gary. Thank you. Could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can you be seated? That's the, oh, we get yours? Is mine off? There we go. Still hearing me or not hearing me?
And are we good now?
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Do you want me to pray over?
Let the record. I'd listen to that one.
Got to hold it down.
Play a little.
Let go of it. There you go.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect that all board members are in attendance this evening. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Support. Supported. Comments among anyone?
I would like to amend the agenda just because consent agenda is item number 8, but then 9 is approval of minutes and 10 is approval of bills. And usually those are nested under consent agenda. So my motion would just be that we nest 9 and 10 under consent agenda so that we actually have a consent agenda.
Got it.
No problem.
Yep, good catch. We can certainly change that. Any other comments about the agenda? All right, I don't think we need a formal motion for that. I think we just recognize it was maybe mislabeled there. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very well. There's our agenda approved for the evening. Item 6, communication letters and report received for information. A shorter list this week of communications. Number 7, public comments for actions remaining tonight on the agenda. We don't have a lot of people here from the public, and I know, Kimberly, you're here to speak to an actual item number 11. So other than you, is there anyone else who has come tonight to address the board on topics that we're going to be dealing with in this meeting? All right. Seeing none, I'll close the initial public comment period. There will be another toward the end of the meeting. You can speak to any issue you like. Okay, item 8, consent agenda, as it's been changed and corrected. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is passed. And we've come already then to what, I guess we'll call it item 11, even though our numbering would probably make it something different. And we have tonight with us Kimberly Walters. Everyone, I believe, received notice of the fact that Kimberly would be here. She and I have been, and you can come forward while I kind of introduce you. We've been corresponding a bit, as has Rob. And I have also spoken to Kyle Terpstra and just trying to get our arms around a bit more of this facility that they'd like to build there on Grand Valley property. And so you come tonight to both explain and take questions.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I'll just kind of maybe introduce what my program is. So I am an environmental health supervisor, which is part of public health. I oversee our environmental sustainability program. These centers consist of, we have 4 man centers. One is actually already located in Georgetown, right off on Roger Drive, off Fort Sheldon. We have one in Coopersville, Allendale, and Holland. We have 2 unmanned sites. One is Recycling Co-op, which is in Hudsonville. That's mainly for our Clean Sweep program, which we do at all of our centers, but that primarily focuses with farmers to take in those pesticides, as well as we have Autumn Hills in Zealand, which is an unmanned drop-off during their hours. Our centers are all focused around taking in household hazardous waste. So those are the things underneath the sink and in the kitchen, garage, those types of materials. Best way to think of it. That's the heart of the program. That's why we exist. But because our primary focus is to help take those materials that are going to the landfills that shouldn't be or could be used again, we offer some of the other programs too, since we're there and we're open so we can take it. These sites are, the primary are the 4 man sites. So we also offer household recycling, used oil antifreeze recycling, electronic recycling, or a membership fee, a small one. We do residential recycling, food compost, and CRTs, which are those old boob tubes. Those are just so hard and so expensive to recycle. We do it for a small fee. We are seeing an increase in use of services. In Georgetown itself, just for example, our electronic recycling here is far exceeds our Holland location, which is overall the busiest. We're noticing an increase in people wanting to have household recycling. The primary focus with that are apartments and condos and those who just don't have access to it at curbside. We're not trying to compete with curbside because obviously if the route already exists, it'll be more fuel effective to use it. It's more for those people who, it also is slightly cheaper too for those who need financial, they want to do the right thing, but a little bit cheaper. So we noticed in Allendale the population growth out there, as well as just community, like apartments, all the stuff, and continuously overturn, and the need of more clean recycling too. As in, Allendale's noticed a lot of contaminated recycling and just garbage left places. So the hope is with this new center that will help divert some of that. We'll educate as well. This new center, the primary hope is to increase education, increase the outreach in this area, which we don't have a center, and just to be there for our community for whatever needs we can. Give you a lot of information real quick. Some examples of a bigger, more robust hub center is the 2 images that were presented, which is the Kalamazoo, and the newest in the area is the Grand Rapids Safe Chem building. The dream is the Safe Chem building look. That was part of a $4 million project. We do not have that kind of funds. So we can dream about it if we have that private partnership that we hope to have. But we have working with a company currently to have an A, B, and C option. Like, here's within the scope of the grant that we received the grant already. We're just in the efforts to try to get it approved by our Board of Commissioners. And one of the things they had asked for is community support. Do we have it? So that's what I'm here for today, is to show that there is a community support for this site and that it would benefit both Georgetown, Allendale, and Blendon, and throughout the county would help too, because you could take in some larger items possibly and help educate further.
Okay.
First thing else you guys might want to know and throw it at you.
I'm thinking probably through questions you'll touch on some other things. I guess I'm picturing that area. It's by a junkyard, right? In that vicinity. I'm trying to picture. It's near 48th and
Do you know
Bauer.
where Grand Ravines Park is?
Yeah.
Grand Valley owns both sides.
Yep.
One of those sides, the more agricultural side, is the lot that we are talking about with them currently.
Yeah. And it's owned by Grand Valley.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I thought that was interesting too. I thought it was all parks and stuff, but no, but
Okay. So whether you have our support or not, it's going to be built. Is that a fair statement, or is it dependent upon a a process where you could be denied with or without the support of the township in which it's located?
That's a great question, I guess, in the sense that I don't know what my board will do. So my job is to essentially present an opportunity for our community to grow in a way like in this way.
Sure.
I've done the research that says it's needed.
Yeah.
And it's really up to the Board of Commissioners. I've even been awarded the grant, so the state essentially says, yes, we see what you're wanting to do. We think it's beneficial for your community. The next step is to have the board sign the grant and approve it. So that's where it's kind of great because I don't know what the board would decide, whether I have this letter of support. I just want to present them with the community support.
Yeah. And Blendon and Allendale have weighed in, have they?
Yep, I have both their letters of support. I have Grand Valley's letter of support. I have a letter of support for Outdoor Discovery Center. I have 2 other letters of support coming.
Yeah. What do these sites look like in terms of screening from neighboring properties? Do they have any sort of rules about that?
Every community is slightly different. So 2 of our centers are actually located on Republic land. So actually, I've recently put carports up. So it's my second time here because we got a building permit for our carport on Roger Drive. So that's on the back half. So we go through all the community requirements. So we did that. So like there was talk of road landscaping that was needed, but Republic already has a giant berm with trees on it, so that qualified for that. City of Grand Haven, we have agreement with them. They wanted some landscaping, so we have that. And then we work with City of Holland Charter Township for our Quincy Street site, and that one was designed with an environmental firm, and that so that area is a little bit more of a wetland. So there's drainage, landscaping considerations that were all done for that site, so it's all naturally done. It's also part of Quincy Street Park. So all that stuff was a consideration. So the site's back a little bit. It's a little tricky to find, but at the same time, it's not an eye burden. All of our sites are designed, our primary sites, we have this one. I'm hoping to be a little bit nicer of a site. It's pretty much a giant cement slab. There's a small office trailer, and the flow of the traffic will go in like a circle. And then there's our e-waste containers with a shipping container, 2 recycling bins. This might have a little bit more. And then we have our household hazardous waste container, which has ventilation, fire suppression, all that stuff built into it, as well as we have some sheds for storage of items like light bulbs, stuff free. So it's pretty much just cement with a lot of containers for buildings.
Why this site? Like you probably looked at several. What was advantageous about this versus?
Yeah. So when talking with Grand Valley, so actually I started working with Allendale. Said, I've reached out to your apartment. There's no, residential recycling. I'm wondering if you guys feel there was a need. And they said, oh, perfect timing. We actually do feel like there's a need for this. And then, so then I worked with Grand Valley. They brought me over to them because they said they have more local land. And then from there, we talked about options. They're like, yes, we also feel like you need this. We also want to help our community. And then we looked at 3 lots that they provided. How they provided those lands, I don't know. But this one stood out for both of us because of the partnerships that can increase with the Parks Department. So essentially, if you do this, we can keep this, So if we try to have these sustainable efforts, like the hope is to also be able to educate on things like solar power, D&C construction materials, so that's demolition and construction. The fact that this site would hopefully be with that mindset. I know in this area too, I think it was here in Zealand, there is a new company that's going to be focusing on construction materials being collected. I think that's off of Chicago Drive. And
how does that relationship work? You're saying in between that and the park system, how would one benefit the other?
Yeah, so actually I've been talking with them a lot lately. We talked about, so like that area needs additional parking, they could utilize that. And then also linking our educational efforts, like composting is one that we're really pushing right now because 33 to 50% of your trash that's landfilled can be composted. And that's also materials that people are leaving at parks. This is stuff that people are bringing into parks. So we can kind of have that connection so we can provide that educational resource and also maybe perhaps tie that into a composting program. So we at our sites have drop-off locations for those people who can't do home composting. They can like drop it off at our centers as well. So kind of linking those things. So if you drop off your compost or a material at our site, go ahead, go to the parks. You're out here, you know. It's the idea is like a one-stop shop, you know, kind of do these services, and while you're at it, enjoy the the community outreach with our parks. So different ways we can spend
More
it.
quick questions, then I'll turn to the floor. But Roger, how long has that been there, that facility on Roger?
Ooh, that's before my time. So that's been out there a long time.
Long time.
So I've been working almost 10 years now with public health, and that site's been there ever since. My guess is it's over 15 to 20 years. I know a lot of our sites and our contracts with Republic, our landfills, are from the 90s.
Okay.
So
I'd be curious to hear from other board members. I've never really received feedback one way or the other from.
No.
I suppose that's a good thing from residents about that. But you've got these various locations. How safe has it been in terms of the ground and leaching and things of that nature? Have you encountered much in the way of soil contamination? Or are there such stringent regulations that you must abide by and that you're periodically checked by that its chances are small?
yeah. We do a lot of safe practices, so that's one of the reasons why we're manned as well, is to prevent those types of items. We're all trained to be HAZWOPER 24-hour or 40 hours, so that means that if a spill does occur, we know how to act appropriately as soon as possible. A lot of our sites are either in locations where it's really hard to do contaminations or designed with contamination possibilities in mind. The largest contamination that we would get would be oil and gas, mainly from cars, but also from other possible things. So what we have, the biggest one I would say to look at that's mostly designed to be our Holland site because it is like located within a wetland and really close to like a drainage creek area. And that's designed where everything flows down into a single drain. And in that drain, they have what's called a pig. So the pig floats on the surface where most chemicals are lighter than water. So it collects those chemicals in that pig. And we'll switch that out regularly depending on how it's looking to collect that. So like our Roger Street site here, it's an area of clay. From what I understand looking at soil maps, I used to do.
No, it's sand. It's sand.
Stand there? Okay.
Ottawa County has a sand pit right next door to it.
Yeah. I was like, most of Georgetown's pretty rocky, so.
Yeah.
So someone told me it was clay, but. So, but that site is also, I know that one just because it's Republic is heavily monitored so that they can meet their credentials. A lot of the landfill operators and haulers, from my understanding, I could be wrong, but from my understanding, I know because they've been out there when I've been there, is they check their water systems, they check air quality, all those types of items. So that's another reason why it's really good to work with our community partners like Republic and Waste Management because they understand contamination that a landfill or their trucks can do. So. But the intention is also to design the site to have the least amount of impact on the environment. And the goal is to protect the environment, so.
Appreciate it. Others?
I was just asked, go ahead, Mike.
Quick questions. Membership fee for residents, what is that roughly?
Yep, so all of our fees, so household hazardous waste, there's no charge. Like I said, that's the heart. And the two landfills, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, the two landfills in Ottawa County, a portion of their tipping fee goes to this program, and that's what covers the cost of our program. So not tax-paying dollars, it's the landfills that pay for this program. So to offset that, to be able to keep the household hazardous waste free, we do 4 membership fees, starting at $100 for a full year to 3 months, I believe it's $36. We recently changed that. It used to be just $100 for a full year. what we noticed that some people have, income struggles as well as snowbirds and just they're not sure if it's right for them. So we changed to have 4 methods for each one. We actually I just looked through this. Recently we've gone from 250 4 years ago, about 250 members to about 450 for the 100 membership, but the other one that's used a lot is our 3-month membership, which is something we weren't sure how that would go with the public. So we get about 60 to 70 residents doing that program.
Okay. And then farmers, what is their fee? I would imagine they bring pretty big volumes of toxic.
So you get a variety with our farming. So clean sweep, anything, and when I say anything, if it has an EPA or they are known, they're sure that it's a pesticide, herbicide, all those consider that, there's no charge. So we work with NDARD to get the clean sweep grant. So we work with them. So that also includes like transportation and labor based on our hauler. So we've gone anywhere where we've met. So we've had one farmer, I'm not sure exactly where they're located, they had over 10,000 pounds on their own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's bigger than our standard trucks that we have. So we work with our haulers and our hauler farmer to be able to collect that still. And then we get some people that have a gallon. So we also still work with them, though technically we're not supposed to take their fertilizers. We do charge them a fee for the fertilizers, just because we have to store it and we'd have to pay for it. So we work with them to still be able to properly dispose of fertilizers as well. But we do it at cost. And that's the same thing with what's called a very small quantity generator. So essentially small business is the way to think of it. So their state sees them not as a small generator, so they consider them exempt. So they still want to do the right thing, but they don't want to spend a lot of money, so we try to give them an option still to be able to do the right thing. So we charge them at cost for that too. Most of those are your fluorescent tube bulbs, items like oil-based paint, and then we also charge for composting. That's anywhere from $5 a bag. So essentially a 5-gallon bucket's $5, or if you want to buy 3 bags, or 3 buckets worth to dispose of, that's $12.
And then when you said tipping fees, is that a fee that you charge Aero Waste or?
Yep. So how we're funded is, so we take 2% of the landfill's tipping fee. So if they charge Aero Waste $40 across their to do a tip, then we receive 2% of that currently. Does that make sense? So yeah, so per scale.
So would it translate into higher trash costs for the average resident? Are they just going to be a pass through for?
Yeah, yep, I understand that completely. So currently we're actually I'll tell you. So we're currently in negotiations. The portion of the tipping fees haven't been changed since the 90s, even though inflation has occurred. So we're essentially, and another thing to consider with how that's set up too is whenever there's a recession, the landfills feel it too, so our program felt it too, like 2008. So yes, you would, but at the same time, it's a lot smaller on the resident. And trash is probably going to go up anyways in time as well, just because landfilling is becoming less desirable in the state's eyes, whereas they want recycling. Another thing to be aware of is that there's this new law that's been updated called Part 115, and I'll be going around to the communities eventually soon here once it's actually to update our materials management plan. So, yes, but not just for our program. They're going to have more needs. They're going to have more permitting restrictions. There's a lot changing. We're not sure what it's all going to look like, but at some point, yes, I believe the residents would feel it a little bit.
Okay. And then as far as the materials being sent to that processing facility at Grand Valley, is that only from Georgetown, Glendon, and Allendale, or materials going to be imported from other places in the county or other counties? So
I just want to make sure that you understand too that this isn't like a giant recycling transfer station or anything like. It's not. It's a lot simpler. It's to serve residents, and we don't currently people that are in this area would be going either to our Roger, or they'll be going to Coopersville. So ideally, or not doing it at all. If I looked at, I just recently created, just based on a recycling membership map, where everyone lies, it tends to, those who are in those areas tend to use it versus driving greater lengths. So I imagine mostly it would just be those 4 counties. Part of our hope is to be able to do a little bit larger items in the sense that, for example, grocery bags, that contaminates quite a bit of our recycling. So my hope is to be able to collect grocery bags in the future, possibly, and that this site might be able to accommodate for like a baler so that we can actually recycle those, because recycling is a very market-based item. So the more volume I have, the more I can do it. So they might actually want it versus if I just say, hey, I have like, a 95-gallon can of bags, that they were like, oh, that's not enough for us to be worth our time. So overall, it'll be mostly residents doing the household, residential recycling, but we might funnel through a few things that way. But at this time, we're not sure.
Okay. And then one last quick question. So I did see part of the Board of Commissioners meeting. Did you speak at that one, or was it somebody else?
At the Finance Committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So, and I think they approved moving forward for the grant. Was that what the vote was?
The vote is, so I've already received the grant from the state. The vote that's been pushed back to I'll be at the June meeting, was to sign the grant. So I'm not sure how your system, I imagine it's fairly similar. Any contracts, any grants go through the Finance Committee first, and then from there it moves on to the Board of Commissioners to sign. So right now what I'm trying to do, and one of the items they asked in the Finance Committee was, does the community want it or have a need? And then, so that's where I'm going back now and getting letters of support. Because one of the questions they had also asked is, have you done a survey? Surveys are really hard and labor-intensive and costly, so I haven't had a chance. I'm actually working on trying to find a free way to do it, and actually talking to see if I can get a Grand Valley intern to be able to do it, or a class. But I don't have the funding available to do a full survey. So what I'm hoping to do is come to the communities like Georgetown, Allendale, and Blendon, and since, boards are supposed to represent the public, that would be at least hopefully good enough for them to see that, yes, there is a want or a need.
Okay, yeah, because I just caught part of that, and I kind of moved forward in it, so I didn't see did they vote to table it then, or was it?
Yes, essentially, yes.
They did table, okay.
Yeah, and then because of the materials that they had wanted, one of the items they had requested that I was going to do with the grant funding, was to create a design and to help them, have them, as well as our solid waste planning committee, help design and give input on that. But they wanted it before I even got the grant. So I'm working with a engineering company now to be able to get that, to present that. And based on, I re-listened to it so I can make sure I understood what they wanted too, that I presented them, I'm going to present them with 3 options. And I'll present that to you guys too. I can send it to Bob and Jim too, about what it'll look like, hopefully. 3 phases, essentially, if we get no additional funding from partnerships, here's what we can build with the funds that we have. And then 3 is if we get tons of support from community partners that want to help us develop the site better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kimberly, this seems very positive.
Yeah.
But frequently I'm asked by our constituents, what can they do with their hazardous waste? And if they go to the or the Rogers site right now, when is it open and how does it happen and what is the cost?
Yep. So if they want to dispose of the household hazardous waste, there's no cost.
Okay.
Yep, that's no cost for Ottawa County residents. In the future, there's talks of interlocal agreements that we might be able to do. So some of those border people that are in Kent County, they can also come here. That's what Part 115 is supposed to be all about, is community.
Yeah.
But currently, we're open at Roger Drive, and I do have our site little cards too if you need them. We're open. Sorry, they're all varying hours. I remember. So that's Tuesday and Thursdays. We just opened that because of the increase of people coming to that site, full days. So that's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
And would that be paint?
Yep, so household hazardous waste, the best way to do it is oil-based paint only. We educate on how to dispose of latex. We take any flammable materials, any aerosols. We take any fertilizers, pesticides. We've taken in expired fire extinguishers. We work with our fire suppression company to take those in. We take in cleaners, acids, bases. We essentially, those oddball items, which we actually get quite a bit, we try to work with them to take them. Some of them I've had recently, we didn't know until afterwards. Some people are like chemists, home chemists, or chemistry teachers. So they'll come in with some of this chemicals, and they're like, this is my grandpa's stuff. I cleaned out the basement. Here it is.
Okay.
Most of them are pretty easy to take because they're acid or a base. But some of them are like, I'm sorry, can you hold on to it just for a little bit longer while we find out some information? But for the most part, we try to take it in because there's nowhere else for them to take it.
How about motor oil?
Oh, it's a good one. That one's no cost as well. That we recycle that. That one's a recycle.
Okay.
That in antifreeze too. With our used oil, we can also take into that. So we pour that off into, I believe, Georgetown. It's either a 500 or a 1,000-gallon drum. And then that gets pumped out. We work with GFL to dispose of that one. Used to be Future. They pump it out, take brake oil, transmission fluid, a lot of the thick, sludgy stuff is what can go in there for the most part.
Good. Smoke detectors?
That one I've not worked. I've been working on that one, trying to figure out a way to take that so it's beneficial. But currently we just tell people to go to Home Depot or where they purchase it, and they tend to have a program for that.
Okay. Batteries?
We take batteries for no cost too. Alkaline batteries you can take to the landfills. The materials that were dangerous in alkaline batteries are not considered in there anymore since like 40s or 50s. I can't remember the exact date. But any lithium or rechargeable batteries we do accept for no cost, as well as we have some tractor batteries in too. So like 3 of us have to use it to bring it in, but we'll take those as well and we bring those to pad mills for the resident.
Thank you. Good luck with it.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
So, you talk about letters of support.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if you built this on Grand Valley property, you would have to go to the township for too much approval. But if you go outside of that, you're going to have to go like to the planning commission and get that approval. You can't just place this thing on any property. Whereas the college gets to do whatever they want because they're a state institution. So my other question is, if it's on Grand Valley, do you have a separate agreement with Grand Valley for this thing other than Ottawa County residents, or how does that work?
All the details with Grand Valley are still kind of contingent on the grant being approved.
Mm-hmm.
The intention is still to go to technically not Allendale. I keep thinking it's Allendale because that's where I thought it was. It's over here. So I'd be going with your guys' planning commission, as well as overall my intention is to get as much community input on this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I can build the sites for the community.
Right.
But as of now, we've discussed having a 35-year agreement. There's also some discussions with parks, with the land as well. I'm not sure the full direction of that, but the intention is to provide the land at least for the site with at minimum a 35-year agreement like they have with Consumers Energy for their, I believe Consumers has, we call those farms, solar gardens. So it would be something like that.
Right. I guess I asked the question because when I look at Grand Valley, like right now when they're doing all their moving out and all their furniture.
Yeah.
So my question is, where does that go to a site like this?
That's the questions I hope people will start to ask, and then we can start, okay, so what do we do with all this furniture? Well, I've heard lately that not Grand Valley, Goodwill, they're actually working on a process to take in that furniture that they can't do something with, to convert it into like platelets and some fancy stuff, as well as my hope is to work with partnerships that, kind of grow. This is something that I've been working on. I'm a one-person show when it comes into the office, so it takes a little bit longer to get things done. But, we see that there's a large furniture need. how do we fill that gap? Because we don't want to take it on in the sense of be a business. We want to find those people out there that are thinking it and trying to figure it out, whether it's shelters, Goodwill, or someone, and then try to work with them. For example, a big one is mattresses right now. The landfills don't want them.
Right.
No one wants to pay for it. So there's actually a company in Kent County that's willing to work on it. And I know City of Holland's trying to think of ideas too. Again, it's when it comes to volume. They're not going to come out for 2 mattresses, which I might get at Coopersville, which is our more rural place. But if I can funnel the 2, the 5, the 10, one site where there might be advantageous for them to come to, then I can help get that void taken care of by someone that's willing to recycle it and process it.
That's why I'm asking a question, because I'm just wondering if Grand Valley's looking for an end game for themselves.
Yeah.
And they're easy to come to the townships, but Grand Valley doesn't come to us.
Yeah.
You came to us, but I'm just asking, is there an end game for Grand Valley to put this on their property where they're going to get a lot more use out of it, whereas we're going to be the ones that are going to be actually writing a letter of authority or whatever it takes to put it?
So one of the things I discussed with Grand Valley is, and one of the reasons why they saw a need in this too, is that they're having a huge issue with their apartments. Both, I think from my understanding with Allendale as well, is their apartments, they have drop-off sites that people are just using as dumps. So the community is also going to their drop-off centers and seeing, oh, there's an open bin, just throw it in. So then what's happening is their current hauler is Republic. Republic gets it and says, this isn't recycling, this is garbage. So then they are now not able to recycle it, they now have to trash it. So part of the discussions is to possibly help them, because our sites are manned, so they would have their custodial staff or someone come and drop it off at the site. They would charge us, or they would pay us to help them with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what you were looking for. That would be a way of helping. Like I said, those kind of little details aren't fully,
Right.
but it would be a way, and then help reduce some of that contamination so we actually have good recycling. If there's something else they have in mind at this time, I don't know. My hope is that we can educate the students and maybe possibly work with their sustainability groups and public health. They teach that as well.
Just to let you know, though, the property you're looking at is in Georgetown Township.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I found that out.
It's not Allendale Township. It's in Georgetown.
Yeah, they first told me it was Allendale, and then when I started doing my research, I was like, oh, this is
Yeah, you're on this side of Pierce.
Yeah.
So.
I'll admit, I'm not from this area. I didn't know much about Georgetown until I started doing well and septic. I'm from Spring Lake area.
Okay. So.
Where do you have the actual location? Like,
What's
where
that?
are you looking relative to going into the trail?
Well, they're looking at by the drive that goes into Grand Ravines off from 42nd.
At the north of it?
2 houses right on the north side there. Is it just beyond that? To the east?
I don't know. It's not a specific site that I've seen,
20
but
acres.
Yeah.
So are you looking at the
I'm looking at the map.
Fillmore, or are you looking at the 42nd entrance?
42nd.
So there's no houses on either side. There's woods, I think, on one side, and then
9922 42nd Avenue.
I did on one of the other.
Grand Valley owns several parcels on the corner of 42nd and
Yeah, so this lot, if you look at the
Come
drive, it has if there's one that goes, there's the drive, and then there's a little hunk that's part of the other side, and it's actually the bigger 20-acre parcel. That's all farm fields. I think on the top half of the 20-acre parcel, they must have an agreement with parks because there's a trail on it.
Okay.
Afterwards, I don't mind staying until after the meeting, and I can show you. I did have it's one of those, you create a few of these, and you always figure what pictures do they want to know. So this one does not have it, but I could also show you exactly where it's at.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Lots of information. Thank you.
Yeah. And
Presentation.
I always welcome questions. I mean, education is part of what we do, so, and if you need any resources or anything like that, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kimberly.
Kim.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. There is the possibility of making that motion this evening for support. Anyone on the board wish to make a motion this evening to support the ESC center that's being proposed here in Georgetown Township? And to Gary's point, it's not
so much an approval because they don't need our approval, but whether or not we would say we support the idea.
I'll make a motion to write a letter of support for their Environmental Sustainability Center in Georgetown Township.
Support.
And moved and supported now that we've received information, and thank you, Kimberly, among the board discussion, yeah.
I think Gary brought up a great point is that Grand Valley doesn't have their own recycling center on campus. I would think they'd probably have a whole department for sustainability. So I do wonder about that, if it's going to turn into their own
I don't know.
custom recycling center.
Yeah. I wasn't even aware we had one on Roger Drive, to be honest with you.
So we used to do the,
And I live literally 3/4 of a mile from that, and I drive by that all the time. Like, there's a sign there by Republic, but I don't know, like, you have to actually stop, get out of your truck to read it. There's not very a lot of signage there that says, oh, this is a recycling center, so. Mm.
If people don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be beyond their gates. Is it past their gates on the left side?
Yeah, so
Okay.
you'll see their gates
Mm-hmm.
on the drive or
Yeah.
the left-hand side.
Just before you get to Pine Ridge in the corner there.
yeah, we used to do community dump day there
Oh, is there right there? Okay.
10 years ago.
People like that.
$70,000 a year
Yeah.
for those day or two.
Yeah.
It's one day.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about this. I don't know if we need to take a position or stay neutral. I trust our Board of Commissioners to make the decision.
Speaking of which, I reached out to Kyle, and they've been looking at it. Not that, I mean, they like us are evaluating it and trying to think what are the pros and cons. He's favorable toward it for what it's worth. I've had a little bit of the unfair advantage of we began communicating a while back, and so I kind of went from skeptical to, okay, all right, yeah, I see so I've kind of had the time to process through a lot of that stuff and come to a personal decision that I would probably support that motion as well. But if enough of you say, look, I just heard about this tonight for the first time, give me another meeting, I'm not going to stand in the way of that.
I would probably be in that camp. I mean, I just want to be able to process this first. I didn't even know we had that one in the first place, right off of Roger. And I would like to know kind of the exact location of where we're looking at doing it too.
And Kimberly, is there something between now and a couple weeks from now that you're saying, oh, that's critical because they're making, is that right?
So I have
I see.
the finance committee by the end of
I see.
and said if you
Yeah.
your computer and I can show you exactly the site, if you have somebody with Grand Valley, their recycling program. I've been working Brent, and Paul's last name, but he is their vice president. That's what the recycling program falls under is facilities. It's not part of the
Out of curiosity, Kimberly, I mean, it's obviously easier for Blendon and Allendale to say, yeah, we approve of it in your, township, but, I'm just curious, did they deliberate and, give an opinion as a board, or did the supervisor just simply say, yeah, we support it? What?
Yeah, I think they're all a little bit different in the sense that Allendale, that's what I reached out to for, because, I saw that area needed, so this is essentially put it on a map,
Mhm.
rural area. And they, said, oh, you don't have enough. Well, let's reach out to someone I know. They reached out to that. So I think so there's a little bit of talk department as well. I think that's why it was just a supervisor there. And then Blendon Township, when I talked to them, it was supervisor, but he said, let me usher that coordinator talk to the goals. He's the kind of thing on it.
Yeah.
Other people chooses, the board.
Doubtful, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say two things about it. One, you're welcome, because I'm just rough signing things. Learn that. Two, I guess when it comes to what you just said, did I hear you say that Allendale was thinking about there was possibly another site for this that would have been inside their boundaries? And
No, I reached out to them first.
Yeah, I see.
And that they didn't have any ability or getting to a certain level of the value to what I'm trying to do, that they were willing to buy us.
Okay, all right. I'm just curious.
I'm sure there was some numbers.
Sure. Sure.
So I reached out to our road commission. So yeah, they have opted on. They didn't have any either. So.
Is there a fear of contamination, or it seems like this is not real difficult. They're providing.
They're taking stuff in and recycling it. Can we put? Is it possible for us to put up on the screen a map of that intersection, just for her to point out for us, for Kimberly to point out for us where it is? I, like Michael said, completely trust our county commissioners to do the right thing, but I also don't want to put Kimberly in a position where the county commissioners are saying bring community support to us so that we can do the right thing, and then to not be arming her with that community support. It's, it's like the kid who goes into class without a pencil. The teacher says you can't show up without a pencil, but where do they get a pencil? And so I want, that was kind of my intention for getting a motion rolling, because I want you to have what you need to take it to our county commissioners, because I trust our county commissioners' judgment then to take the information and decide what action they're going to take on the grant. But I want to do our part.
Provide all the information they requested, and then to let them decide. But I've done my part. I applied for the grant. I got the funding part. We'll take care of.
You got the funding. You got the land. You're putting all the right pieces in place.
Kimberly, can we just ask roughly how much was your grant?
So the grant's for $1 million.
So you got $1 million.
Yeah, with a 20% match. So that means the county. So the 50 to 72, the funding.
Which is a junior.
There is. Go to the layer, bottom left. Can you layer it?
Wow, that is a healthy grant.
Right there.
Congratulations.
Terrain. There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
A lot of talking and a lot of research. So
What about someone that has a fear of contamination? What would you say to them?
my say to that is valid concern. That's why we're doing this.
Sure.
So, I will say that contamination is considered, when designing, how do we design the site, like that, either designing it so everything's close to one area, any internal, house all internally. What they do a lot of the time is they have everything in an area where you combine with they call them the galleys, with nothing in the house, as well as I know that prior to
Okay.
so all those things are fine. Plus we're trained staff.
So right now the stuff is sitting in farms, sitting in people's basements or garages, and we're looking at handing over to professionals to dispose of it properly, and you got over $1 million.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
I think that ultimately a lot of these hazardous waste if there isn't a site that people know about, I think that we gotta, up the amount that people know about. But I think that if there isn't a site like this, these things are gonna get disposed of. We're just trying to do it responsibly.
I think in the most part, like if see, right now I'm on the pros side. I see only the pros. That's where I'm trying to find what the cons are in this. And to kind of reiterate what Becky just said, I mean, if you don't know if you did your own oil change and you don't know where it's going, it's probably either getting burned or dumped in your backyard anyways.
Yep.
I mean,
or going down a storm drain or someplace that isn't supposed to be.
A lot of people don't know.
Put it on your driveway.
Someone that bought an oil can just at the side of the road. Someone's like, I have an oil can. You know what to do with it. And it's one of those things that traditionally we're like, where does that lie? We take that, I just went and grabbed it, so because do want those contaminants out there. So and that's my biggest thing is trying to promote more education, more resources. And then, for example, another thing that I see is mercury. A lot of we have a mercury take back program. It's really easy to use to provide them with additional thermometers, but actually a community out here, someone built it, and it took us 3 months to help them remediate that. We have what's called Lumex, a very expensive piece of equipment, and it helps us take that out and educate how you take care of it yourself. By the way, do you have any other mercury crisis?
Yeah.
We don't have the same problem with that. We have to have all this content, replace it. It took a month to take care of. So
when I took chemistry, they poured it in your hand, and that was the fun day in chemistry with the mercury as it went all over the room. True.
Yeah, when I first started this position, I started as a tech, but it's partly in this program as well as partly our septic program, and I went to visit our mother's site, and someone had brought in a jar, like a pickle jar, half full of mercury.
Cool.
And the only thing about mercury, it's heavier than it looks. And they said they hid it like by the lid part of it. That's scary because that glass is puffed off, and then you have real contamination. Luckily, we don't see a lot of mercury, but it's still trickled in.
I have a
Schools
question.
have had to gut their rooms, tile, everything, cost a fortune.
I see records in our files that show that schools have had spills, and then it just gets on the shoes, and students will check it through. Even one of our courthouses, jails, they have the old blood pressure. A lot of blood pressure still has mercury in it, but they have one of the older ones that have a lot of it in it, and it is broken. And then, of course, again, on some shoes got spread all over. So a little cleanup is now a big quick.
I feel like we need to connect you with our library director to do some educational programming and those sorts of things, because it feels like you're a wealth of knowledge on this. Where on the map is it?
Yeah, so here's the trail. So this parcel here actually has a small part right here. The site is going right around here, is what we're looking at design-wise. Obviously, that would change with feedback from a lot of different constituents, but this area over here is where.
So across the road from a junkyard.
Salvage yard.
Salvage yard. That's right. Salvage yard.
Grand Valley Auto Parts.
You should name it.
We're not a junkyard. Maybe now I know why. That's what it is. But yeah, so we've talked about possible, obviously, lots of talks need to go further, but the early designs that they're giving us is showing that we come in and off of Green Trail. They did propose one here. We were liking the idea off of this, since this is obviously a bigger and broader.
Well, Grand Valley owns the corner of 42nd and Fillmore. You can work by that.
They've got a perfect spot at Grand Valley.
That'd be a better site.
I actually looked, so I'm familiar with GIS, if you use this movie traffic drawings, and I looked at that, and they told me that one too, but I couldn't quite find the one that said there's same campus.
Many schools take field trips there, so you could have an educational center possibly tied to it.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been getting lately, not a pointer, one of the things I've gotten, I've taken Grand Valley, the public health, had wanted to come out because a lot of them do school circles, so, here we're saving the public, but where do you start? Where do you start with environmental health? And the services they can provide that thought. And another, as Boy Scouts come out, they want to come. I had a couple of groups that had to turn around because we don't look at the one we have on Rogers Drive and see that the lab and building, we have a small office trailers, they're brand new, we just got those, those are old ones. And we were going to the bathroom out in, porta potty.
So it's sustainable because you get 2% when people dump their trash. So once you build this, you'll be able to man it because of the income that you'll be getting from trash disposal in the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and from, that's so the landfills understand. So essentially our partner is Waste Management and the Republic is the owner of landfills. They understand that this is important in the sense that we don't want this because for all you know, the next PFAS is in the stuff that we're taking. I talk about landfills all day because I always learn more from them every time I talk to them. But they have issues because they have PFAS. So I don't want anything else coming that way. So since PFAS and Windex cleaners that we don't know of, let's just not get it to the landfill. Let's have it. Our current haulers, U.S. Ecology, it goes right. They actually benefit to have three mixers called it. They have like a little pot. So our stuff will go there, then it will go out. Detroit, where they do cycle, public roads, drive, all that stuff.
I have a couple questions. So my question is to Chief. Chief, we're going to be looking at putting this in Georgetown Township with all these chemicals. Do you see an issue when you start mixing different things, and as far as hazardous material, putting out a fire, I'm just.
At this time, this area not having municipal water. I know this up here is a well in type 2 well as well as at the time it would be a well.
So you're going to have on-site fire suppression?
I have a $1.2 million budget. What can we do? I know some of the concerns that I do say we can do what's called like a lab hat. So we don't, the only thing that we pour, what we call it for, is flammable materials. Pour off, diffuse gas, so air, those type of items. And I know that you might still have, depending on what cost you find out, we could possibly have our fire suppression trailers. None of our sites actually have running water. We have all water or drinking water, fire suppression systems in our units.
What about the Roger Drive?
I'll just have them on Friday, and they said we talked. In fact, there was a option. It would be pretty basic. We're not to get to the building details yet. But they said that the work that Progressive Inc. is doing right now, they're building our they said like way up here where the apartments are.
Yeah.
The water stops. The work that I know, this is all also.
There's water in Fillmore.
What?
There should be water in Fillmore.
There's water there. Yeah.
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 So the people that run this thing, what is their training with chemicals?
Everyone has lockers, 24 hours to 40 hours. I have 40 hour, most staff at 24 hours. There is a company out of Kalamazoo that does a lot more of the household hazardous waste training, which is far better than what the training I got. It was 40 hours for the police. Police is talking about fuel tankers, something over, versus what do I do when I have a 50-gallon drum of oil? Well, let's get the tanks out of our fuel tank and get a neutralizer, let's do that kind of, they're all trained by and then we all have to be our refresher training. We also do software safety. OSHA. So we
Yeah, I'm just asking a question, because it doesn't take much fertilizer and nitrogen fertilizer and kerosene to create an issue that will level a couple blocks.
So it's separately. So that's part of, so we also, and another thing for understanding too, is we have a few levels of staff. The first level is superintendent, and they take in the material. They provided A, B, or C essentially. So you've got your flammable material, you have your pesticide fertilizer, and stuff. So that's the first level. The next level is that we have senior site attendant, Tech, and myself. They're all trained to either pH and sort. So that community growth. The growth and ruin is the biggest concern. Those are the items that are crazy, stuff that have studies we pH, we talk to our vendors, and hey, we have this here, something, what do we do with it? It's not pHing correctly, it's not, so we know the report is top. As well as those that have pH, sort. That's why the educational part. Yeah, sorry.
Hard to get employees. Hard to get employees.
Well, that's why I'm asking a question, because
Yeah.
you could be trained, but if you're not there, I want to know who's going to be there. Is it going to be some intern? I've been down this road before, so.
Like that too, because some of these, I've had a few calls, and people are like, I want to volunteer. How can I help? How can I do something good? We take your own facility, great. We want the students out there helping, community hours, talk to schools out there too, that they want to do something. And I said, at the time, don't have services that can take in, for safety. They won't know the amount of training you need, and that's where it's supposed to essentially has it at. There's items that we get a lot of strippers and out exterior painters, so this thing, they're bright pink with high acid, and then some really strong purple blues, or really strong bases, and I always have this garages. You don't want to go, some of them say that's so sleep, you know, the days, there's a lot of time to take in your staff, and that's why, you hire staff, it tends to be someone who sticks around a little bit. By the time you train them, you don't want to spend, go on. Yeah, safety is very important.
Well, we've got 3 votes towards something that I guess is coming up within the next 2 weeks. Not that you certainly couldn't convey, no matter how a vote would turn out, whether it was unanimous or otherwise, right? So our commissioners could know that as well. They gave support, but not all of them. There are
I'd
concerns.
like to hear the motion again, if I could. I didn't quite catch the motion.
My motion was for this board to put together a letter of support for the new Environmental Sustainability Center in Georgetown Township.
If there was a group going to oppose this, I would think it'd be Grand Valley. I mean, you should look at the map there. I don't know if we're talking a few blocks or a block, and they're providing the land, so they certainly must feel comfortable with it. And to have something that is sustainable, because they have money coming in from the trash removal, to start out with well over $1 million, and people are now storing this stuff on site, unsupervised, a danger, and now we'll have professionals handle this. This seems like a no-brainer.
One more question. Is it Ottawa County wide that it's the 2%, or is that just specific to Georgetown Township if we have this one? But on the individual bills that is passed on, is it just our location, or is it no matter what going to be Ottawa County, no matter where it's going?
We don't have to pay for your people, right? That's what we're asking. We don't have to pay for them.
But you do.
We do in 2%.
Okay, that's fine. But if we vote, that 2% is not going to go away. They've already got it. They've got the money. They've got the free land. Thank you.
John, I don't think I'm not against doing this. All I'm doing is, no matter where it goes, it's already a 2%, meaning that I'm trying to justify on the con side where, okay, an additional 2%, or it's already coming out, and it sounds like it's already coming out.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to make sure I verified.
Thank you.
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's different, like when we've talked about your cable bill and it would have like PEG fees or whatever. This isn't listed on our trash bill like that. When the garbage company pulls into the landfill and they are going to dump a truck, they pay a fee to the landfill to dump their truck. And whatever that fee is, 2% of that fee gets set aside and sent to your program. And so, yes, the trash company is currently, sounds like has been, for at least the recent past, has been, the landfill's been taking 2% of what the trash company is paying them and sending it to you guys. And that 2% is certainly being passed on to the customers, but it's not like our cable bill where it's a line that's like PEG fee, that if we got rid of it, it would go away. It is just, that's part of why you have to pay for trash, because the trash has to dump at the dump. The garbage trucks have to dump at the dump, and they have to pay the dump for that access, right? And then that payment, a piece of it comes to you.
And the county has to come up with $200,000 to match this. So they're asking us, do you feel good about it? Would you like to have it in your community? Which helps them in making their decision.
Yeah, so I'm hoping for a letter of support so that community of Georgetown feels that this would be a benefit to the community. And then I will present that to the board, and then the board will make the decision to the county whether they want to move forward with signing the already awarded $1 million.
Okay.
I can support the concept. The only thing is we already have one.
What's wrong with that
I'm
one?
just trying to figure out why we're not pushing the one we have. This really doesn't benefit our township. This benefits Grand Valley and Allendale. This is like on the very northern edge of our township, whereas right in the center of our township, we have one of these. There's not even a sign out front that says what it's for. The one on Roger? Oh yeah, so that's what I'm at. I've been by there before. I don't see any sign. I'm like, what is this thing? Okay. Okay. Right.
One person is not trying, but, this is also.
Right. Right.
Can you expand that Roger location without, put money into that?
Right.
Tuesday and Thursday, you said it was open, correct?
Historically, it was open Tuesdays and Thursdays for only half days. I got additional staffing to be able to help back shift from the Georgetown area out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked with one. And that site, now that it was open, have you ever had a high-end electronic system?
So maybe we need to expand that one or have more hours.
Yeah, I just did. Last year was our first year.
Right.
Some of it too, that's a little bit of budget.
Okay.
So my question is, if you add another site, how does that affect your budget? If your budget is, you're going to build a site, but I don't hear you saying, well, it's going to increase my budget. Now you got 5 sites, you go to 6 sites, you don't have enough people to run the 5 sites, you want to add your 6th site. So here's my thought on this. My thought is this: I can support the concept. I cannot support that site. I don't think that site is safe enough. You don't have any water. You don't have proper fire suppression. When you come to mixing chemicals, I'm not a chemist, but I do know enough to be dangerous. And I look at that and go, that's just looking for problems. I mean, at least over here in Roger Drive, we've got fire suppression availability and a fire department that's close by. We don't even have a fire department up out. We don't really cover the north part of our township that well. I mean, it's covered, but it's not what I would say our best coverage. So I get what you're doing, and I'm all about sustainability, and I'd be willing to sign on and support the concept, but I would not support where that site is.
Yeah, well, I'm not, you guys are right, I'm just trying to justify the concerns we have. Fire suppression, in that sense, at the bare minimum, would be the exact same as what we have. Let's say we just did the exact same. So our current.
It's not exact same, because Roger has city water by it. You can, what's that?
I don't have city water. None of my sites have city water.
There's a fire hydrant there, though.
I don't know where.
Well, they can find it if they got to come out and fight a fire. Over there, they can't just make a fire hydrant happen. There's not one down 42nd. That's my concern. Okay. Our DPW guys are sitting here. They know. They're shaking their heads. So.
We figured one at a time.
Chemical.
Yeah. Right.
I've never experienced it. Our sites that we've had, like I said, have been since the 90s. We've had agreements with them. We never had a bill with the time that I've been working here. There was an old style fuel drum, no longer used. It became fuel. At our physical site, it did still. And our staff was trained to handle it. We took care of it. Environmental functions that it was properly, completely gone. Waste management and the public both letters of support too, but they also help us. I can't address the price. Maybe we do bring water down there. That was one of our discussions that we had, and my hopes are that's part of the partnership. Hopefully, additional funding for waste management or public, those type of partnerships. Yeah, if it's done because we've done the evaluation and the cost to active, we have to bring it down. So down here, help us be able to do that. That's all part of it.
Yeah, we need to bring this conversation to an end here, guys. Listen, I don't. You can make your own judgment, and that's what I'm going to suggest to the board here. But there's a mixed reaction among this board about the idea. There's probably a majority that support the idea of having another station. Maybe not a majority that would support it at this location, right? And that there's support for and against this particular location on this board. So you could decide, I'd rather not go with anything than to go with something that is split. Or you might say, you know what, I'll tell them honestly, I'm getting both positive and concerns. So I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag there. But ultimately, we have to know we're not saying yay or nay. It's not our decision. They can put it there if they want to.
Yeah.
With all the things we've expressed. So I don't think we need to deliberate to the point of, do we agree to have it or not? It's all about a recommendation letter. I don't sense overwhelming support, and I'm not sure. I'd leave it to you, Kimberly, whether to take anything back to them, or if they were to, or maybe only to wait and say, let's see if they ask about what does Georgetown feel. Well, I went in front of their board, had a lot of great questions, we had a lot of dialogue. I think it was rather split. I think the majority support the idea of one, maybe not necessarily this location. It's kind of split on that, and let it be. I mean, let them make their decision. Because I don't hear, otherwise, I just don't see the point. Yeah.
Can I ask one question of the chief? Are you concerned about fire suppression out there? That would be a major concern to me.
And the
I like the idea of
hydrant,
it.
Chief,
I
the
think
closest hydrant would be
location
at the
was-
church? The closest hydrant to this location, did you say that there's water as far as the church? Okay. So it exists down the street, and we said that water's also on Fillmore. So it seems like there's water in the vicinity, but not down 42nd to there.
No.
Got it. So it would be, so for Kimberly's information, if she's going to ultimately have to bring water to the property, it's probably going to be coming from Grand Valley's campus out further versus coming from Georgetown out to her.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I just think that Kimberly has done such a great job educating us on all of this, that if we can, at the bare minimum, provide her with a little bit of that kind of information while she's here. I really appreciate your time, Chief.
I can't support it.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what's going on. Look for information.
Done, the site design, and then it comes to get $10 million of it in the water ground, then it won't happen in the sense that unless someone wants to give us $10 million, it won't happen. So the site, I have to clarify too, this is the early stages. This is just saying if a site can go here, if it's hostile, if it's safe,
Okay.
use for it in a sense, not necessarily.
So, board, to me, it's 4-3 or 3-4 on this. It's not either way good for you. Either way. So it's probably 7-0 to some level at some place under the right circumstances. It's not like there's I don't think, but I think for this site, which is what you're talking about, and for this grant and this particular group and their vote, we have split views on it and shared mutual concerns. And I think that's the best that can be said.
I think that given all...
Put it up by the ski hill at Grand Valley, I'd be all for it. I love the idea of it. It's just the location.
Okay.
If it was ski hills right by their facility management building, that'd be an ideal location. I think everybody'd be on board.
For us again in the future, as maybe there's need for this, and as this thing progresses, if it does progress, or if it starts to look elsewhere. But I think because of the meeting you have coming in the next 2 weeks, I think that's the best we can tell you from this board. Okay? So, is that fair? I think that fairly represents the board too, and you did really great. I appreciated you really did. You presented well, you answered well. You're not highly emotional one way or another in terms of, you got to do this. It's like, I don't sense a pressure tactic. It's educational. We think it's good. We hope you do too. That's a fair way to present it. So we appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah.
I think as far as procedurally, since there's a motion on the floor, I think that I will, out of respect, Kimberly, for what you're trying to do, I will withdraw my motion, if that's okay with the board. I will withdraw my motion so that you're, Kimberly, not in a situation where we took a vote and like a letter of support was denied or defeated or whatever. I'll withdraw my motion so that your message moving forward can be, I had an hour-long conversation with the Georgetown board. There were lots of good questions. We had great dialogue. There's a need for more information. Water for fire suppression was a concern. Really if that was the best location was a concern. But that our board appreciates the opportunity to dialogue further moving forward. And then through Jim can arrange you coming back when, as things materialize with the county. But I think that by me just withdrawing my motion, that helps it not go down in writing as defeated. Does that make sense? Are you guys okay with that?
John has to withdraw his support first.
I'll withdraw the support, and I appreciate excellent comments that were made that I did not pick up on. And thank you. I came out a little strong, and there was excellent questions asked, and thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks
Thank
all
you,
around.
Kimberly.
Appreciate it.
I think this is a good opportunity too to put on our Facebook page to let people know about the Rogers Street.
The other location. Yeah.
And I think that the next time that we do some sort of a correspondence with a utility bill or something, it could be a good program to highlight for our community.
Good point. Good point. I didn't sign that letter. No, I didn't come close. I wanted your input. All right. Thank you, and don't feel badly if you step out or if you stay. It's entirely up to you. Item 12 on our agenda tonight, ordinance amendments to chapters 2 and 24, mixed together in one, but so be it, two entirely different concepts. We can separate them out or we can approve them together, whatever this board may please. One is, it seems to me, it's just complying with law as it's changed. The other one seems to come out from, I'm not sure where, just maybe percolating within the Planning Commission itself, reducing the the frontage from 200 to 150 feet. And rural residential, they say commensurate with some of the local municipalities.
Yeah.
So.
Second one came from what I talked about at one of the board meetings where somebody wanted to split a property into 3 parcels.
Yeah.
And it was RR, and then they wanted to go LDR, and if they had gone LDR, I'll lean ahead, John, so you can see me. If they'd gone LDR, they could have forced sewer on the residents on Berry Street. And so we changed the zoning ordinance for RR. We did not change the square footage needed for those lots. We changed the frontage from 200 feet to 150 feet. And so that actually puts us in line with the other townships.
You didn't change the square footage. Did not
No, we did not. The square footage of the lot is the same for RR. It's the frontage that we changed from 200 feet to 150 feet, which lines up with other townships. So I'd make a motion that we approve both of these from the Planning Commission.
Support.
Moved and supported. Debate, discussion on the board. All right. This is a resolution, so we should
Let's do a roll call.
take a roll call, yeah?
Let's see. Mr. Swam.
Yes.
Ms. Steele.
Yes.
Director is a yes. Supervisor.
Yes.
Treasurer. Mr. Velick.
Yes.
Ms. Grassman.
Yes.
7 good.
Okay. And the measure is passed. Item 13, to change from LDR to HS, Highway Service Commercial. That's land, if you've seen that piece over there in Port Sheldon near Chicago Drive. You've gone by there, seen prep work being done there. Maybe you have too if you drive by there very often. Over a period of months, to just kind of green it real flat and nice. And yeah, so I know Gary, Planning Commission, addressed this and believes that it meets
the requirements.
Yeah.
It's a
Going
parcel land across the street is all commercial property. So the piece to the west is probably becoming the Planning Commission in another month or so, and they're going to look at rezoning that too at the same time.
What? So, there's still another piece there yet? To the
Yes,
west?
yes. So
Okay.
where the guardrail is when you cross Chicago Drive, which gets replaced about every 3 months, there's a piece there too. And so that has not come to Planning Commission, but that is. And it's a possibility that sewer may be coming down Port Sheldon to service both these pieces, but that's down the line yet a little bit. But anyways, this is the piece that has been approved by Planning Commission, and it was unanimous. So
If you drive around there, I mean, it pretty much everything else is developed.
Yep.
This isn't one where I don't want to see like the domino. Okay, now they got it.
Right.
Now I want it. Now I want it. It's kind of just a piece that sat there, developed all around pretty
there's
much.
no sewer there.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So like where Cucci Heating is, he actually has a pump septic tank there. There's no sewer down Port Sheldon. Because to come from the other way, they had to jump Rush Creek. So they couldn't do it ever before. So always had to come from Chicago Drive. And all those other pieces are getting off Chicago Drive, so the sewer has to come around the back side. Not very cost effective. So the owner of this property is looking at just putting up storage buildings. So it's not, if sewer becomes made available, then he's going to put up buildings that he can put bathrooms in.
More storage buildings? Really? What is this?
Well, yeah, we have stuff. Gotta get rid of stuff. So can never have enough buildings.
You might have just lost me right there, Gary.
So
That's awfully close to the residential property next to it.
across the
Yes,
road.
but he actually worked with the property owners to make it happen, so.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. I know who that is. They're okay with it?
Yeah, they actually, gave up some of their property to make this piece larger, so.
Okay, and there's, more setbacks too, correct?
Correct.
Do you know what is the, side setback for highway service commercial?
I don't know.
Cause that's gonna limit the amount of land, which doesn't really matter. That's on them, but.
So, as we remember, if it meets the standards, and this is one of the permitted uses,
Yep.
and what is being changed to if it were changed,
And it fits within the
it
master
doesn't
plan.
matter if I like storage buildings, so,
Right.
Yep.
okay.
Or you could fight it, but there'd be a lawsuit.
Place to put your mattress.
It's another,
Your hazardous material. Sorry, not funny.
My neighborhood.
That's on your mattress over there.
Gary motioned
he
it.
did, he did
He
second.
seconded it.
Okay, all right. Is there further discussion? This too is a resolution, by the way, so roll call.
We're gonna go the other way.
Okay.
Mr. Grassman,
Yes.
Mr. Felding,
Yes.
Treasurer,
Yes.
Supervisor,
Yes.
Clerk is yes. Mrs. Steele,
Yes.
Mr. Swam,
Yes.
7 positive.
All right, it passes. Item 14, second public comment period. For anyone who's here tonight in the room who'd like to step forward and address the board for up to 3 minutes on any topic you like, now would be the time. Just ask you to give us your name and street address. Yes, sir.
James McCloskey, I live on Baldwin Street, I think you know who I am. I have a question for her on her deal. How much of her land is gonna be dirt and how much is gonna be concrete with a berm on it for any kind of waste?
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna have hazardous waste.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a berm around. You didn't say anything about if it's all gonna be dirt, how much is gonna be concrete, and have a berm on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just was curious on that.
I appreciate that. And for those who noticed, Kimberly stayed around, so after the meeting, Kimberly, you can answer that and any other questions that people have. So I appreciate that. All right. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the second public comment period. We're moving our discussion and general information up to 15. Our last item is closed session, and we'd like to then come out of closed session and be able to conclude the meeting after that. So, among the board, any items for general discussion before we go to closed session?
The only
Are we
one,
having a Memorial Day parade?
I saw it advertised out in front today
Okay.
that there is one, and a 5K run. Did I see that right on the? Huh?
our Facebook page shared the inbox,
I wondered that too.
thing to register for the parade.
It's been low key. It's been
From
very
low key this year, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I appreciate them if they're doing it just quietly, but I saw it on the sign too. Yeah.
My one thought about Memorial Day too was, the sound system or access to stable electric at the cemetery. Are we in a good place for that? Awesome. Perfect. Amazing. Thank you.
Excellent.
Sorry, I've been on a couple of different email threads about that event and never thought to ask that until I was driving here today. So thank you.
Yeah. Nice. And if anybody wants to get involved, we've been working on it, a couple of us, but if you want to get involved with that Memorial Day celebration, please let me know. Anyone else? Anything else? Hearing none. Rob asked that we go into closed session for the last one. Dan always did the same. It could be an open session, it could be in closed. It's at the discretion of the superintendent. If you prefer it was in closed. So we're going to evaluate 1 year of Rob Blitchak as our superintendent, and we'll do that in closed session. So is there a motion to go into closed session?
Support.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll go to closed session. I'll just say to those of you who are here in the public, you're welcome to stay around. I expect when we come out of closed session, either we'll just adjourn the meeting, or there may be, if there's any business at all, it might be to address the contract, whether or not there were any sort of changes in pay, et cetera. So we've done that in the past as well with Dan that preceded him, and often that would take place that very night, and if not, some other date in the future. Okay? So with that, we go to closed session.
I'll make a motion to come out of closed session.
Support. The move is supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we are back on the record. As I mentioned before, we went off the record. We would address only one thing and one thing only if we came to business at all, and that is to address the contract of our superintendent who's been with us. I think April 18 was a year, so almost a year and 1 month.
Happy
anniversary. Happy anniversary. We pulled him out of retirement from doing, I think, a lot of laundry. And whatever list that Julie left for him. But did you iron though? Did you? Yeah. Bob, I have the privilege of being able to address you on behalf of the board. This is not to suggest that everybody said the exact same comments, but I think the sentiment is we really appreciate you. And it's not an easy job. It's not easy to follow someone who's been here for 35 plus years. Ask anybody who's tried to do that in any setting. It's tough. And so we think you've done it really well. And it's obvious that you are a quick study because there was a whole lot to learn. I watched you as you immersed yourself in water, sewer, and Parks and Rec, and the fire department, and the office here, and voting, and all the rest. And it was a constant I'm sure, fire hose of information, and it seems to me that you really assimilated it well and are learning probably every day yet. You had a lot of background that I think has been useful to us in terms of your past work in public education, dealing with large staff, dealing with the public, dealing with questions, issues, et cetera, that lent itself well to the transition. And I really appreciate your presence around the office. I've noticed that I know at least when I come in, you get me laughing, and you get a few people laughing around the office, at least those that get your humor. You try, right? So I will restrict my comments. I mean, there's more that we could talk about, but just to say on the whole, we appreciate you, and we're grateful. We've got 2 years left on the original 3-year contract, and I'm looking to the board now with those comments having been made for a motion as to a change to the contract. So is there anyone here who wishes to make a motion related to his employment agreement?
I'm going to make a motion for year 2 of Mr. Blickshot, superintendent's contract to change the annual base salary from $150,000 to $160,000.
Support.
Support.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
All right. So it carries. And aside from that, then, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
We'll do another one.